We are covering a disturbing case out of Alaska.
The details are so horrific.
This is chilling stuff. This is evil incarnate.
You live, you die. You live, you die. Sadly, in my movies, everyone dies.
Smith on trial for murders, accused of killing 2 Alaska Native women. The homicides gaining national attention after a woman said she found a memory card on the ground labeled "Homicide at Midtown Marriott."
It reads like a thriller, a stolen cell phone with evidence of cold-hearted brutality, a sadistic killer, and an intercontinental investigation into a trail of bodies. But this isn't fiction. It's the true story of the so-called Alaskan memory card murders and the South African man accused of them, now awaiting his fate in a US prison. 5 years ago, Alaska's capital, Anchorage, was the scene of a gruesome crime. A 48-year-old man was arrested for the torture and murder of a 30-year-old Native Alaskan woman after a memory card was handed to the police. It was ominously labeled "Homicide at Midtown Marriott." On it, haunting images and videos of the victim's final moments.
On Monday, the grand jury returned indictments for a first named victim. Those charges included murder, sexual assault, tampering with physical evidence.
The accused was South African, Brian Stephen Smith, a naturalized US citizen who had moved to Alaska in 2014. The evidence presented in a trial that ended in February was stomach-churning, a grotesque tale of murder captured for posterity, a tale that begins in the dusty streets of Komani in the Eastern Cape, a place Smith once called home. Those who knew Smith growing up in this house on Maple Crescent say he was soft-spoken and mild-mannered, more comfortable in front of a computer than with people. One relative told us he was always on the fringes. She's an immediate family member we'll call Maria to protect her identity. Since his arrest, she's received death threats and is worried about her safety. What can you tell me about his childhood, his upbringing, his roots, essentially?
Eastern Cape, born and bred. It was a normal childhood by any description. Mom, dad, the dog, the house, the everything. There was nothing unusual about the upbringing. There was nothing, as I can say, that would have led us to believe this is where Brian was going to end up. This is what was going to happen to Brian. Not at all.
Why did you choose to speak to Carte Blanche about Brian?
All I've tried to do is not make excuses for him, not protect him, but maybe just give a little bit of a background that he was someone's child and someone's brother and someone's husband, and that not everyone's born a monster.
Listen, you need to finish this movie because I just can't on anymore. God's once for yes, God's twice for no.
The victim was Kathleen Jo Henry, a homeless Alaskan woman who'd been reported missing in 2019. Smith had taken her to a local hotel, the Midtown Marriott, tortured her for 2 days, and then strangled her to death. He discarded her body along a nearby highway. During the 3-week trial, the jury watched all 12 videos of Henry's murder. Smith didn't show his face, but narrated his savagery.
Do people have to be taught how to die these days? After 120,000 years of evolution, we haven't learned to die. Huh? I don't have time for you.
Did you hear some of the audio from the recordings?
Yes.
What was that like? Did you know the voice of that man?
I knew the voice. I did not know the vocabulary. I remember speaking to his sister and saying, this can't be. To taunt someone when they are busy, yeah, it was horrific. That hit me solidly. There was no getting away from it. He was as guilty as can be.
The depravity of his actions stands in contrast to the man described by many as mild-mannered and quiet. At 42, Smith packed up his life in sunny South Africa and emigrated to cold, unfamiliar Alaska in the United States. He emigrated for love and married a woman some 20 years his senior he'd met online.
This is the worst wild animal, yeah.
That woman was 𝗶𝗵𝗶𝘀, a former US government employee. The pair met in 2013, and by 2014, Smith was married and living in Alaska, working odd jobs to make ends meet. 𝗶𝗶𝘀 supported her husband in court, but has since filed for divorce. Their relationship may have appeared idyllic, but the investigation revealed a different picture. During interrogation by the police, Smith admitted to infidelity when describing how he'd murdered another woman a year earlier, this time in his own house.
I just shot it. There was no... The messed up thing I can tell you honestly, there was no emotion now. That was just not listening to me go shower.
That victim was 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, another indigenous Alaskan and mother of 4. Like Henry, she had a history of homelessness. Her body was also dumped along a highway with a bullet wound to the skull.
This is the beaver dam made by...
It's an instinct for violence those who knew him say seems completely out of character. Smith went to the prestigious Queen's College for junior and high school, but he moved to a nearby technical college in Standard 9, what's now grade 11, where he completed matric. From there, he went into military service in Bloemfontein. Not much is known about what happened after that. It's believed Smith drifted from place to place, moving from job to job. Wayne van Straten is a childhood friend. Sitting next to him at school, what was he like? What was his personality like?
A very nice person, fun, make jokes, smiling. When we did IQ tests in junior school, Brian came out with the highest IQ in the grade. He's a very smart guy. I think he can manipulate things.
So do you think he had the kind of IQ that might let him get away literally with murder in South Africa?
Well, I think so, because what we've seen now, he fooled all of us. So I don't see why he couldn't get away with it in South Africa.
Smith was eventually made to account for his crimes in Alaska, thanks to convicted criminal, drug addict, sex worker, and key witness Valerie Castler. In October 2019, Smith paid her for sex.
What specifically stood out about the man to you?
His accent.
Okay, and what was it? Describe it.
It sounded like European or something.
As they stopped at an ATM, she stole Smith's cell phone and fled, not knowing its shocking contents or how it would become instrumental in his conviction. Castler transferred the footage to a memory card and handed it to police.
Do you know what you did in that video? Yes. I did not realize this. I did not know this. No, you didn't know it, right? Yeah. You're still saying you didn't know that. Well, this is you. And I'm cleverer than that. You are. I can't get out of it. You've got evidence on going to the jail.
During the trial, a picture emerged of a man who took pleasure in recording the torture of his victims, even describing himself as a serial killer.
When I look at pictures of him on the news channels and I look, his eyes are just, they've got this wild look in them. It's not the look that I know. It's not the same person. He just looks angry, aggressive, and that's not the person that I knew.
Kathleen Jo Henry and 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 died senseless deaths at Smith's hand in the place of their birth, Alaska. But an alleged jail cell confession brings this saga back to his homeland.
He started working for the same company that I work for.
𝗃𝗓𝗵𝗶𝘀 worked with Smith at an IT firm in Johannesburg for 2 years, and the pair remained friends. In 2019, he was interrogated by police over Smith's criminal history in South Africa.
When I did get interviewed by the police, I had to go to Pretoria and speak to them. I asked them why they were interviewing me, and they said that Brian allegedly told his cellmates when he was in jail in the US that he had been murdering women here for a long time. He'd murdered many women and never got caught.
Are you aware that the American authorities, as well as South African police, have spent some time and care looking into his record here?
Yes.
And that there is a suspicion, based reportedly on a confession he himself made, that his criminality began in South Africa?
I'm not aware of that.
Does it surprise you if I told you that is a fact?
I think at this stage, nothing surprises me. Honestly, nothing surprises me. I have no answers. He was either beyond confident, maybe he wanted to be caught, I don't know.
A sense of justice when the family wanted the Alaskan.
In February this year, almost 5 years after his arrest, a jury convicted Smith on 14 charges, including murder and sexual assault. Do you still love Brian, and can you forgive him?
I can't answer that now. I've got to be honest with you.
The families of Smith's victims now await justice. He'll be sentenced for his crimes later this month.
Brian didn't just kill 2 women. The impact on everyone went beyond those 2 women. As a family, we have so much, how can I put it? Their families have lost so much, but we've also lost someone. We've lost the Brian we know. This isn't Brian.